KC's Corner here on 97.5 KDEE. The first college football playoff rankings came out on Tuesday night, and you know we have to talk about it. We got to get into college football in general because, I feel like it's been a little neglected. All right, and that's my mistake. It's been a little neglected. It needs to be shown more love because, it's big time right now. They got some good things going on. So we're going to talk about all that. Like I said, the college football playoff rankings, the first ones of the season came out, and they had number one being Ohio State. Somehow the Buckeyes, number one. They've been balling. That's one of the reasons why. But they're number one. LSU, number two. Number three, Alabama. And surprisingly, number four, Penn State. A little surprising that the committee had Penn State at number four over Clemson. That is number 5 and 9-0. I guess they figured that Clemson's resume just isn't that good for how weak the ACC has been up until this point. But I mean, if you ask me, clearly one of the top 4 teams in the nation is the Clemson Tigers. So I don't understand how you could have them out of the top 4 at any point as long as they're undefeated. So didn't get that. One interesting side note that I saw in these initial rankings is that they had Oregon at number 7 and Utah at number 8. Kind of leaving the door open for one of those two teams to possibly sneak into the college football playoff with a little help and having some Pac-12 representation out here. All right, both of those teams are on a collision course to take on each other in the Pac-12 championship game, and that could end up being for a spot in the college football playoffs. Now, for that to happen, I think they would realistically need another loss from whoever loses the game this week between LSU and Alabama, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But they would need another loss from the team that loses that game, and that might be a lot to ask, but there's still a chance for a little West Coast representation. So that's always a good thing. As far as this weekend in college football, a big one. We got 2 monumental games. The first one, number 4 Penn State taking on number 17 Minnesota. And look at the Minnesota Golden Gophers. 8-0, ranked number 18 in the nation. This is a big game in the Big Ten right here. This is probably the biggest game in recent memory for the Minnesota program. And the way I see it, they're going to step up to the challenge and step up to the moment here and take down number 4 Penn State. I know Coach Franklin has them boys sneaking into that college football playoff scene over there at Penn State. And like I said earlier, nobody really saw them as one of the top teams in the nation coming into the season. And as the season has gone along, nobody's looked at them as one of the top teams in the nation. But look at them, they're number 4 in those college football playoff rankings. But the dream ends here, though. The dream ends at Paisley Park. The dream ends at Lake Minnetonka. Penn State going into this game favored by 6.5. I would take Minnesota in this one, not only to cover, but they're going to win this one outright on Saturday, and comfortably, might I ask. Easy money. The other big game, and this is the latest game of the century, down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where the number 2 LSU Tigers go into Alabama to take on the number 3 Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll Tide out here, huh? In the past, these games between these two teams have been complete rock fights on the defensive end with very low-scoring games. There was a 9-6 overtime game between these two back in 2011 when they took on each other as, once again at that time, the number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation. LSU won that game. And then that same season, they played in the national championship game. And I think the score was like 15-3 or 15-0. Alabama won that national championship game. So historically, defense has dominated when these two teams play against each other. I see this game being a little more offensive friendly. Not a lot, but there will be more offense than usual in this one. Those defenses in those games in the early 2010s, they were filled with not only NFL players, but first-round pick NFL players. I mean, they were dominant defenses. These defenses are still good, but I don't see either one of these current defenses being on the level of those defenses back in the 2010s, 2011, 2013, that range. So we should see more scoring here. Starting quarterback and Heisman hopeful for Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa. I always struggle with that name. I hope I said it right. But anyway, Tua is still listed as questionable for this game with an ankle injury. I think he'll play. I'd be surprised if he didn't at the very least give it a try. I think he'll play the entire game. That's what I think. But like I said, at the very least, he'll give it a go. And if he can't go, Nick Saban won't push it. But if he does not play, that would be a huge loss for the Crimson Tide, and it would be something they wouldn't be able to overcome in my eyes. But look here, even if he does play, I think LSU still gets the job done. I just got a vibe about what these boys can do now on both sides of the ball this season. Too many times in the past, they've had elite defenses, and of course, the secondary, as we know, they're historically known as DBU. We know that it is always formidable, but now I think they have the offensive weapons to not only beat Alabama, but make a real national championship run. LSU beats Alabama, sorry Tish, on Saturday afternoon, 24-20 in Alabama. So can't wait to see that one. That is must-see TV for sure. You guys make sure you check that out, 12:30 on CBS. You guys want to get your afternoon football in and watch that one. So we're going to slide out of here. One more segment to go. We'll talk about your boy Canelo Alvarez and his highs and lows of his bout against Sergey Kovalev on Saturday night. We'll break all that down. But right now, a little music. Lucy Pearl, Dance Tonight, here on KC's Corner on 97.5 KDEE.